Okay, so I wanted to walk through a Benford's Law testing that became a graphing exercise, but then show you how it really relates to some of the other best practices I wanted to talk about as kind of closers, which are more just in making your graphs look a lot better and improving kind of the readability and why you're going to use certain graphs over another in that. So bear with me one second here. What you'll notice, and we're going to talk through a few different topics as we go through this, but as we go through this Benford Law scoring tool, you're going to see how the data points in a data series exceeds kind of the limit of Excel. And these are some of the limits here, from a charting point of view that you need to be worried about. For the most part, you can't exceed 32,000 in a 2D chart. So if you're doing like a scatter graph, like we'll do in a minute here, you'll see how that comes up. And then, I guess ultimately you can keep adding additional data series is what we're going to do. And again, kind of going back to, if you have too many data points, what do? You basically exceed that 32,000. We still can work with it, and I'll show you how you do that. Again, these are some of the other limits here. Okay, well, one of the previous videos that we've done in a statistical course that we gave back in May was back in July. July 18th was the date. And I actually have it in the data file there, so that's when we gave it. But this was a great little tool pack that, again, you can get if you went to the course, but I'm happy to give it to you as part of this course today as well. So what we're able to kind of show here are quite a bit of summarizations and pivot tables that have been kind of pulled together. What I mainly wanted to show you, and just bear with me 1 minute here. And I thought it was in the sheet, but maybe I am. Yeah. Bear with me 1 second here. I must be just missing the actual graph that. Alright, bear with me 1 more second here, because this may answer. Alright. Well, I can show it to you here. I'm just a little taken aback because I could have sworn within here I actually had a way of showing you how to split the actual file. But let's take this one here. Whoops, sorry. Nope. This one here. So this was the scatter and other graph template, so it wasn't the Benford Law template to work with. And in this one, what I've done is I've created 2 data series, and the reason I've created those 2 data series is because I got beyond the Excel limits that Excel wanted me to work with. And what you can do is kind of set up 2 different data series. So, in going through your data, you let's say, in this case, we're actually graphing columns I and J, and just kind of graphing that. You're welcome to make a 1 data series and kind of make that chart. Let's just insert a small chart, a small scatter graph here. And in that chart, in selecting the data, you can actually add another series name, and for the most part, we can. That may making it as easy to select here, but what I was hoping to do, was to, bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I could then select a set of X values here, and just kind of go up, and probably the easiest thing to do actually is just to, if I can copy this, which I always had trouble. Yep, there we go. If I can copy that down here and just move it over by one column, so instead of it being I, it would be J in this case. Now I have kind of Series 1 and Series 2. So if you do exceed the limits, let's say 32,000 in your limits, it really, bear with me, where did my chart go? There it is. Notice how in my chart now I have two data series. So I have Series 1, Series 2 that we basically just kind of quickly set up there, and I just pulled a few items really just to kind of prove the point. But if you do get something where you're going beyond 32,000, or Excel is telling you that you're exceeding limits, this is a way of fooling Excel and kind of creating multiple series, 1 to 31,000, and then beyond that into other areas. But again, just kind of wanted to show you the main point of showing this is actually to note that you can kind of bend the limits of Excel a bit. As you notice, though, the largest limit that they had was you could only have 256,000 data points, so I guess you could only have 32 times whatever to get to 256. So you have a fair number of data series that you could post, but if you have 1 million records or so and you wanted to put that into a chart, that's going to have trouble in Excel. I wanted to close on this because I thought it was more of an interesting kind of topic to close on. And we're going to go around a little bit on the web, and also excuse me, take a look at a variety of different graph types. But Dean Brooks's log discussion hopefully was interesting to you, and again, listening to the video should help as well. But Edward Tufte has a website out there, and I tried to copy the link into that that page there so you can see it. It's edwardtufte.com, and I'm actually going to go out to his website right now just to kind of show you that website. Bear with me 1 second here. There we go. And I've bought a few books by Edward Tufte over the years. I found this one's kind of funny. Hold on 1 second. I can't get back. I think it was book number 5. Yes. This is one I thought was really interesting. I'm just going to scroll into this so you can see it. Is Visual and Statistical Thinking, Displays of Evidence for Making Decisions. And again, Edward Tufte, I believe he's at Yale University, and is just a wizard at kind of playing with graphing and how to make like a very simple graph but yet make it very effective. And that's sort of what I wanted to close on in concluding here, and really just to kind of get you to see some of the benefits of some of the different types of graphs. And again, Edward Tufte, I haven't really explored his website. Bear with me 1 second to see, but this book here is $7, so he's really come down. I bought some hardcover copies of the books, and they're more like in the $40 range, like this one is. I do have this one here. Bear with me 1 second, but kind of great to inspire you to do very useful graphs. And when we are talking about cleaning up, these are just some of the things that I wanted to show you, but I have to say, what I wanted to spend probably about 5 or so, at least, minutes on was taking a look at the different types of graphs, and again, more down the road of like Edward Tufte and which one to select, and then kind of cleaning it up with these final points of removing grid lines and white space, having white space, and chart styles and layouts, which really can very quickly make your charts look great, and then saving your charts as a template so that you can kind of keep them for the future. Okay. So just taking a look at some of the charts you may have. this one is more in a way of like a bit of a pie chart. Each line, or each bar here or column here, which is now in 3D. You kind of wonder to yourself, do you 3D or not? It's sort of it's up to you as to whether or not that makes a lot of sense to do. But something where sometimes some of the 3D stuff can look quite nice, and what I sometimes prefer, though. Bear with me 1 second. Is maybe another way of looking at it is something like this, where I don't think is as useful, of a chart. It's sort of hard to quickly pinpoint things. So taking a look at this particular column 1, which again is just kind of working off of this 3D kind of pie chart, whatever, where that's hard to read. Kind of going to still hard to read, but getting maybe a little bit better. You can identify certain months by looking at the actual columns, the bars within the columns. There we go. So, and taking a look at ones that are larger, September 2009, I think that's what that one is, and that does look quite big. Some other ones look kind of small, etc. So that, that's kind of useful. But I think it's almost more useful, and this one, mind you, we filtered, so let me just select everything and then go back to this. I think the line chart does a much better job. So it's almost like what's your option. You could use this option to kind of figure out where the months are, where there's large deviations, or you could use something like this, where again it's something where just by the very nature of the line versus the kind of like stacked column, which was the other one that we were just showing, it really kind of pops out to you as to where the largest items are, and kind of what is that time frame from, say, March to February of the following year in that data. So just kind of showing you that, and then you can get really kind of elaborate and get more to the 3D option of that, and you can actually just right click on any sort of 3D chart, click 3D rotation, and I'm not going to do this well, I'm sure, but just by sort of playing around with it, you can change how sort of dramatic it is and whether or not you're underneath it or above it, and it's kind of, we'll leave on that one there, but again, pretty dramatic, and it's probably harder to line up actually where December is. Just kind of going on some of the making things look nicer. Aside from formatting the axis, which we'll show in a second, formatting grid lines, either to not have any line at all, might be an approach. And sometimes it's a little nicer to kind of have those grid lines. And I think one of the scatter graph ones that we just showed a second ago, if I can find this one, this one, sometimes having that actual graph paper is quite useful of knowing exactly where something is. And I've watched my children in math class pull this one together and figure out how many over and how many up. Again, I do think the use of grid lines can be a good thing in some graphs, I guess is the point on the grid line point. But in other graphs, it may kind of hinder your actual view of what you're trying to look at here. And I think the type of graph, again, I think playing around with it a bit, just kind of right-clicking on data and changing chart type. And again, really, I'm just now truly playing around here. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting, skyscraper approach to looking at things. It's kind of hard to see some of the things back there. So, again, by right-clicking 3D rotation, you can kind of bring that probably more in line to focus. Or let's, yep, it's really kind of it's sort of hidden. Some of the buildings hide the other buildings in the actual chart, but still, I mean, there's still something to be said for building a pretty intricate, looking chart that that you could utilize. And one of the things I wanted to note is, let's just imagine you really like this whole skyscraper approach, and there's no reason why, a lot of time here for all these thoughts, but you can kind of change your background of this and put a skyscraper to make it look truly authentic here, if you'd like as well. But once you're done with that, one of the things that you could do is save it as a template, and that's something where, if you got comparable data, that graph template is something that you could utilize. And I have one in here, but maybe I'll call this the 3D chart or something like that. May not always work with the data that you're trying to put into it, but it'll tell you that. And once you've saved it, I almost need to remember how to do this exactly, but I believe you go all the way down and maybe into Manage Templates, and it's way over here. And you can actually, so when you say Manage Templates, it comes up. You can select 3D chart, and now I'm saying it can't open the file, so that's not good. So let me try to. Here's my template. So by selecting the template section, you can actually, maybe we'll select this one here, and it brings it up. I don't think, though, that other template, this scatter graph, I don't even think I could use it. Yeah, so it's going to tell you it can't use it, or it's going to save it. But that sort of template approach can save you a lot of time in building some intricate graphing, and then wanting to kind of bring it to another audit. Or another type of audit, but still doing things like stratifying by type of month and year. Okay. And there's nothing to be said. Probably one of my favorite charts out there, and I think I'm going to have to start over on building it for you, because I'm surprised I actually don't have it in here, and I don't. Yeah, one of my favorite ones to do, so I'll kind of walk you through building a chart very quickly here. Let me just grab that data. And I'm just going to do that to a new worksheet and build a pivot table. And what I'm going to do is bring in just the enter date over to the left hand side, and you could do anything, but probably just even bring in the invoice amount into the value section, and I'll change the values by right clicking and changing the format of that field, and now it'll look a little bit cleaner for purposes of what we're going to do. Once I have that pivot table set up, and this is more of the basic stuff, but I wanted to just note it, you just select Pivot Chart, and at this point I would select something like a basic line chart would be fine. I guess we could go 3D, but I won't. I'll just keep it basic. And I'm going to move this chart to its own kind of section. And I find this is one of my favorite graphs to run for any process, accounts payable, general ledger, inventory, you name it. Is truly just, what is the activity per day? And are there exceptional days to go take a look at? Invariably, you do find December 10th, December 8th, 2010, December 6th, 2010. You have a high spike upward, a high spike downward. It's very kind of curious and interesting. So I find that that's one of my favorite charts, actually, of all the things. And as we were looking at kind of some of that time graph, I wanted to note that. Let me just close that up. Actually, yep, that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to show you in this particular chart, which looks a little tough here. I'm going to try to say no lines for grid lines, and actually, oh, I know what I did for this one. In order to kind of make this a bit messy, let me go back to this one that's a little bit cleaner. Notice how this axis is $20 million, and it's this, 20 million. It's really kind of large on the screen here. You can go to the format of your axis, and in the number section, this is what you'd be entering in, and I believe it's saved in the sheet, but it's basically 0.0, well, actually the better way to do it is 0, comma, quotes, M, and then quotes. And what that'll do is it'll actually, should work. I think I had to apply it and I didn't apply it. I want to add that and close, and why is it not formatting it? Bear with me. Well, I'm having trouble changing it back. I had it at 20.00, and for some reason it's kind of keeping it at that level. Huh. And let me add that in there. Aha, okay, perfect. So I guess I wasn't adding it into the library there, but once you've created a bit of a custom one like I've done here, you can see the negative 10 million, the 10 million, the 20, but it doesn't take up as much space as it used to on the page. So cleaning up your formatting of axes can really help a lot as well. Again, some people like grid lines, some don't. I believe the formatting in the layout section. Bear with me one second. Not in the design section. Okay, so you have the opportunity here to change chart layouts. Oops, sorry. So that one, that was probably a bad selection there. Sorry about that. But this was one that was actually pre-selected. But you can actually, for every graph, Excel saves a bunch of these kind of interesting chart layouts that you can just click on, and this one here does all of the regression analysis and linear coefficients and all this great math stuff, and all you have to do is kind of press that button. So that's the chart layout. And from a style point of view of just making it pretty, probably shouldn't have selected that, but you can select a variety of different styles to determine what do you like the best. And again, probably the best thing to do is once you've gotten something you like, I would save it as a template and make that a template that you could use over and over again. Okay, so that pretty much brings us through all of the best practices, as well as kind of going through this Benford Law scoring. Something that just what I didn't touch on as much in the Benford Law scoring, definitely something to take a look at. And if you we'll send you the data file for it so that you can play with it. But I really kind of liked building the score. I just wanted to show you. This is more of using that logarithmic kind of methodology. And I think this one was, nope, this one is more of, well, both of them are the logarithmic, sorry. I think this is where we ended up using what was just in natural Excel, and then this ended up being more the log function version of it. But this is something where, again, I think that log concept that Dean brought up as well can prove interesting, and this Benford Law data table that we do provide you also provides a lot of kind of interesting points on the log function itself.